Okay, picking up from the last video, remember I had a lot of vibration on the lathe. You can actually hear it. So what I need to do is try and sort out what the problem is. I suspect the pulleys are out of balance, possibly the gear as well. But first things first, let's clean this up and then we'll do some measurements. Okay, well I've already taken off the spindle bearings, or the top of the bearing cap, so we can easily lift this in and out. What I need now is to clock these surfaces, and we'll see how concentric they are. So it looks like we've got about 5/100ths of a mil run out. So you're looking at around 2 thou. Either this hasn't been bored right to start with, or machined right from the factory. Maybe there's a little bit of the cast iron settling over the last few years. I'm not sure if the amount that it's out is enough to put the balance off, but we'll soon find out. Let's check the balance. The way I see it, I've got 4 choices. Leave it as it is, put up with the vibration. That's going to, first of all, drive me nuts. Secondly, as it vibrates, it puts more strain on the bearings, puts casting under strain. It will basically wear the machine out faster. Second choice, I can take the speeds back to the original 750 revs. I've still got the same problem, but less of it and less noticeable. Third choice, I can do a static balance. Final choice, I can take it out and get a dynamic balance done on it. They'll put it on the machine, balance it, add weights, take weights off. But I'll go for a static balance because this is a home workshop and we do things at home. Let's try it out. Alright, for those that may not know, static balancing is basically balancing of a shaft on what's generally a pair of blades. So you have 2 blades, put the shaft across the top and it will roll, free to roll until it finds its own level of gravity. So the heavy side sinks to the bottom, and if it's truly out of balance, next time you roll it, that will also sink to the bottom at the same position. So it gives you an idea of what the balance is. I'm going to use my wash trough because it's about the right size. It's reasonably sturdy and should provide pretty good base for it. I need the depth. What I need now is a couple of rails. So what I have is a couple of 16mm linear rails, which I'm going to set up. That's, in a nutshell, basically it. Needs to be level. These need to be parallel. And once you've got all that sorted out, you can pretty much balance anything to a reasonable degree. All I need to do is get these parallel, and then we should be right to test to see if it's level. So just to get these parallel, I'll put in a couple of pieces of MDF, evenly spaced, and that will make it parallel enough. Check if it's level. I'm going to run this bar down it. So now it goes back this way again, so it means I'm running downhill here. So what I'll do is use a screwdriver to wedge under there and get a bit of a wedge in there. Still a little bit downhill this side. That seems to be fairly level. I think I'll call that level. So we take our spindle, we get it on there. Now I've got a problem. This side and this side are two different circumferences, so it will actually try and roll itself around a hill, but around a corner. I don't need a great deal of travel, so it still should be okay. And if this is out of balance, it will try and find its own position, which it's doing already. So you can see what it's doing. It's trying to use gravity to put the heavy side down. Once it stops rocking backwards and forwards, it should be pretty close to where it needs to be. Takes a little bit of time. But I think it'll be worth it in the end. Right, it seems to be roughly there. Now the reason I stopped it is I'm not ready for that one yet. So let's just do this gear. Let it find its position. So it's slowly rocking backwards and forwards less and less. So eventually it will come to a stop, and that's where our balance point is. It appears that the heavy side is where I've made the bull gear locking pin. Whether that's different material, it's just by chance, I don't know. I've got a counterbalance up here, but it might not counterbalance that. It was a bit strange because I've broken off a piece of casting there, so it should be a bit lighter. So let's try it again. We'll put our high point, our heavy point up top, and we'll just let it go. We'll let it rock. Okay, it looks to me like it's going to rock back in the same position. Okay, use a bit of acetone to clean the casting. So I've got these wheel balance weights. They come in 5 and 10 gram lots. I don't know how much I need. So what I'll do is I'll put a bit of tape on a 10 grammer and just temporarily stick it on. Now we'll see what happens. We're still not right. So we'll peel off that piece of tape. And we'll try 20 grams. I'll let that sit and just let go. Still a long way out. Let's try 30 grams. Still a tiny bit light on this side. We'll try 5 on there as well. So you can see now what it's doing is it just stops rolling. Doesn't try to find its out of balance point, because it's reasonably balanced. Okay, so I've taken all the steel blocks off. I've made up a lead weight, a little bit heavier than what that was. And I'll actually glue that in place. And we'll see how we go from there. The beauty with the lead is I can easily carve it with a knife. Interesting, I didn't put enough on it. Okay, well I've got extra 10 grams of lead. Actually I think it's 9 grams, which I'll put on. We can try that out. It's a new day. I wasn't happy with the setup, so I've made this extension shaft here, and that diameter is the same as that diameter, so that'll make sure it runs parallel all the way through. It won't try and turn corners like that. I'll check my rig again. The rails are level, parallel. I've lifted them up a bit with these other rails. Everything's perfectly in spot. So I do the same thing. Put that on. Let's give it a little bit of a push. Doesn't need much. And we just watch it rotate forwards, backwards until it stops. What I might do is drill it out. You just turn it slowly now. It appears to stop in a random position, which means it's fairly well balanced. I'm going to call that done. All we need to do now is the same thing for the pulley. Now this is actually on backwards, but that doesn't matter. So back to where we were before. We just need to rock that backwards and forwards. So we're about there. So now if I turn that, it will try and find its own weight again. So we're always back in the same spot. A little more lead. We'll tape that there. Well, that was a lucky guess. I think I'm going to call that as near enough for now. It might still be a tiny bit out of balance. It's a lot better than what it was. But I'm a bit worried I can just keep carving little bits off at a time. I might make it better, I might make it worse. Let's try it and see what happens. Okay, fingers crossed. $200, $300, $500, $700, $800, $900, $1,000. Top speed 1125. Got a little bit of vibration at the top speed, but nowhere near what it was. Quite happy with that.